Hi guys, this video is called the 5 most underrated survival skills, and it was actually it was started by a channel called Survivalizer, and he came up with the idea to do this, and he tagged me, which is awesome. Appreciate it, bro. And so I am going to give you what I think are the 5 most underrated survival skills for survivalist preppers and just people in general, basically. And he had some really good ideas on his. He actually took a lot of the ones that I would have used if I hadn't seen his video. So they're really good. You should go check that out. Especially the physical fitness was a big one I was going to mention, and the salvaging. I'm huge on that. Not full time, but a hardcore dumpster diver, and I get a lot of stuff off Craigslist, like you mentioned. In fact, just earlier today, I went up and picked up a desk that someone was giving away, and then I resell that stuff on Craigslist and make some extra money, some cash. So it's a really good skill to be able to pick up, is how to find these resources that are just being given away. And I mean, sometimes the people literally just give them away, sometimes they leave them by the curb, and it's all. I mean, I don't actually go around picking up trash, but the stuff that's being thrown away isn't trash, and you can salvage it, and you can call it dumpster diving or freeganism or just being frugal and smart. So check out his video. He had a couple other good ones on there too. I just wanted to mention that because that would have been one of mine, and he stole it. But he did the video first, so what are you going to do? But anyways, yeah, so he tagged me on it, and I'm going to try to make it a short video. I have a tendency to kind of ramble on. But here are my 5 most underrated survival skills. And I think these are a lot more, going to be a lot more, not necessarily theoretical, but they're not necessarily skills like water purification and stuff like that. But you'll see. The first one is the law, constitutional rights, legality, things like that. People focus so much of their preparations and even their mental preparations on like shit hit the fan scenarios or without rule of law scenarios, without stopping to think that even if that stuff happens, most of your life is going to be within this current paradigm of legal system or some sort of legal system. And it's extremely important that you understand that, even if you think it's messed up, which a lot of it is. Then it's even more important that you understand all the little loopholes and stuff, because you have no idea how much of the way the system's set up is dependent on you being like implicitly giving your consent to be within the system. You really have to opt out and say no at every turn, and you'd actually be surprised at what kind of power that gives you over the system. So that's something really important. Look into your local laws, look into your constitutional rights and state laws, and just things like that can really save you a lot of trouble, and it's just a way to take hold of your freedoms, your God-given freedoms. I think that's extremely important. A lot of people think that only, like drug dealers or whatever really need to know all the minutia to get out of the law because you're just trying to get away with something. But that's not what it's about. The default state is freedom, and government's infringing on that. And it's our duty, basically, to stand up against that. Certainly anyone's right as a free person, so it's very important. You learn your rights, understand your rights, and understand the laws. The second one, since Survivalizer already took personal fitness, I'm just tweak it a little bit and say like physical self-defense skills, like hand-to-hand combat, is something that a lot of people have absolutely no experience with. They've never even they've never done anything before. They've never had to struggle against a resisting opponent who's actually trying to do something. Even if some people do certain martial arts and they'll drill moves or do the kata, but they never do it against a resisting opponent. And then when something happens for real, they're not ready for it. Like they may read a book, watch videos, and know all these moves, but if they've never done it before, it's quite a different thing, especially against someone who's really trying to hurt you. And if you haven't actually made that instinct, you're not going to be able to do it like that when it counts. So I suggest taking the martial arts that I recommend are the ones that are proven by competition and where you're actually going against a resisting opponent. So the stuff that doesn't really work has been weeded out, because if it doesn't work, they're not going to use it. So things like Western boxing, Thai kickboxing, and are probably the best, in my opinion, of stand-up arts. Then you go into like the grappling arts, where you would have judo, freestyle wrestling, and Greco-Roman wrestling, and there's a couple others, but that's pretty much the best for this grappling takedowns. And then groundwork, you would have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and submission wrestling or catch wrestling, and those are the best. So that way you have all your bases covered, no matter where you the fight takes place. Whether you're standing, whether someone grabs you and tries to throw you down, you can maintain control position, or if you're already on the ground, you have submissions, and that also gives you a lot of options. With something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I do, I'm not very good, but I'm learning. Because you don't always want to only be able to do something like eye gouges, groin strikes, and elbows to the face. You have techniques available where you can subdue someone without actually hurting them. Maybe it's someone who is just going crazy for some reason and they have to be stopped, but you don't really want to hurt them, or you're worried about legal consequences, and choking them unconscious is a hell of a lot better than curb stomping them or gouging their eyes out. So that always gives you those options too. And it allows you to defend yourself, which is the goal. So basically every martial art out there has some things that work. So I'm not bashing any of them, but they're definitely the ones that I mentioned have been proven over the years to be effective, not only in competitions but in real-world situations. So the next thing would be the next most underrated survival skill, I think, would be personal finances, money, and economics. And I'm not talking about economics in a larger sense. Like most people who are gotten into survivalism and prepping, they understand things like the fiat money system, the Federal Reserve, and all that stuff. I'm talking about taking control of your personal finances, budgeting, investment, all that kind of things. How would you go about purchasing stocks, buying and selling gold and silver when it comes time to sell, if you're going to do that eventually. You know what I mean? How to do a budget, how to live within your means, and all that sort of stuff, and how to make more money. And that's something that a lot of people don't focus on. They kind of get locked into like, okay, I'm poor, how do I get by being poor, instead of saying, how do I really take charge and master my financial situation? And because there's a lot of good that can do you, especially over the long term, and especially when things either finally get better, or if they never do really get that bad. Because, like I mentioned in some other videos, I always reference Jack Spirko and his saying, helping you live a better life when times get tough, or even if they don't. That's really important, because most of your life is going to be... Oh, stupid cat. Always interrupting my videos. But, most of your life will be in a situation that isn't, not considered shit hit the fan. And your biggest worry will be paying your bills and just getting by in a normal situation. So that's one of the most important things, is just learning about finances and money management and things like that. And the fourth one would be basic construction, handyman, and building skills. A lot of people have these ideas about what they're going to do if the shit hits the fan, or they're in a type of a breakdown scenario, societal breakdown, economic collapse, and they've never even so much as put a hammer to a nail. And it's something that you don't want to have to learn when it really matters, when it makes a difference between you having food or not, or between you having self-defense or not. You get out there, make sure you have a decent set of tools, and know how to use all of them. You used them before, like something as simple as making like a little birdhouse or a bookshelf or something is quite a bit more difficult than it seems. And that's why they have all the jokes about the little wood shop things that the kids come home with, and they're all hideous and poorly made. And it's really not because they're kids, it's because that stuff isn't easy if you've never done it before. Even something like I mentioned, like hammering in a nail, or making a straight cut with a saw, or properly measuring things, and just proper technique, using power tools and hand tools, and knowing what types of tools do what and which one would be best, and good ways to do it. And that's something that's really important, is being basically good at construction, building, fixing, especially if you're not going to be able to be resupplied in any sort of disaster scenario. You're going to need to be able to fix things and improvise, and that's something that is really important. So improvisation skills, building skills, construction skills, general handyman skills. You'd want a general understanding of things like electricity, plumbing. You don't have to be, a master at it, but just realize how the system works, how your house is set up, how you would go about doing something like fixing a pipe. Like, okay, you got to shut the water off first. Most people, they wouldn't even know where to start. So just a general understanding of that kind of stuff is going to help you out and go a long way. The auto mechanics is the same way. Being able to do things like, it's okay if you go pay someone to change your oil because it's, only $20 and you just don't want to get dirty, but you should know how to do that kind of stuff, because you might not always be able to get someone else. This goes back to the video I was talking about being like, it's okay to participate in the system, but you don't want to be reliant on it. It's okay to get someone to change your brake pads if you have the money and you don't care, but that's something that you should know how to do. You should know how to change a flat tire. So, and the last one, because my video is getting a little long, is basically what's called nonlinear thinking. And a lot of times when you'll see like IQ puzzles, problem solving, and stuff like that, what could be described as riddles sometimes, or exercises in nonlinear thinking, which is the layman's term is thinking outside the box. And a lot of times we get stuck in these modes where we're taught your whole life to just work within the confines of the system, even if there's no real boundaries there. If it seems like there are, you stop thinking about it, and it limits your thinking, it limits your problem-solving ability, it limits your ability to survive no matter what happens. And one of the symptoms of this is something called functional fixedness. You probably don't know the term unless you've taken a psychology class or something, but you've probably seen it happen before. And that's where you get fixated on a specific function for an item and you don't think of it in any other sense. And one of the examples that was given in the psychology class that I took back when I was in college was that if someone needed to screw in a Phillips head screw or flathead screw, they may look all around and, oh, I don't have a flathead screwdriver anywhere, and then they go buy one or something when they could have just used a dime out of their pocket or, anything else that fits in there. You don't really have to, or someone's like, oh, I need a little pot for my plant. They look around, oh, I don't have a plant pot, so they go buy one when they have all sorts of containers that you can use for that. And those are just examples, but the idea is that and that's just one aspect, is functional fixedness. But there's other aspects mostly related to problem solving, figuring out better ways to do things, quicker ways to do things, more effective and efficient ways of doing things. And that's super important, especially when you don't have outside resources at your disposal, whether that's because of money or disaster, shit hit the fan scenario. Really learning to think outside the box is an important skill. And I recommend just get like those puzzle books and stuff and just start thinking about these things, looking at things from different angles, and realize that a lot of stuff that you assume as a given really isn't. You know what I mean? And don't assume that there's rules and limitations on it that haven't been, really proven, because, there's no reason to limit yourself more than is absolutely necessary. Don't subject yourself to boundaries that aren't even there. So that's important when it comes to your critical thinking. So that's pretty much it. Those are my 5. My shout outs, I'm gonna send these people a message, and maybe they'll play along with the game, make their own video. Maybe they won't. It's really no big deal, but I'm gonna send some messages and try to get them to do it. So they are Fairfowl at a Modern Survivalist. He does a lot of great stuff, and he's actually lives in Argentina and lived through the financial collapse that happened back there, and so he has a lot of good insight on that stuff. And the next one is Survival Doc at the New Survivalist. I like what he's done so far. I'd like to see him do a video on this. The next one is Anthony at Bibles and Barbells. Same thing. I like a lot of his videos. Excuse me. And I'd like to see his opinion on these things too, so I'll send him a message. Next one is Veritas Files. I'm not sure what his name is, but he does some good videos. And the next one is Bishop at Never Scared 11 or Never Scared 11. And same thing. I'll send him a message and see if he wants to throw up a video, and see what his opinion is on the 5 most underrated survival skills. So that's my video response to Survivalizer's tagging. So hopefully that gives you guys something to think about, and let me know what you think. And if you want, you don't have to. Even if you weren't tagged, you go ahead and make a video and put it as a response to this, that what you think are the 5 most underrated survival skills, because I think the more people that do these videos, the more ideas people can get about stuff that they're overlooking and stuff they need to work on. So, that's all I got for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.